My name is Michael Everett, technician here at Grove RV and Leisure. I'm also technical support if you need, so feel free to call at any time. My business card is going to be with the file you receive. Anyway, we're going to do the demo on the Plateau FL, and we're going to start with the outside, finish that up, and then we'll come back and do the inside. So the first thing we want to start with is the awning. Now, I have extended this awning partially. First thing you need to know about these awnings is you want to close all the doors before you operate them. In particular, this one at the back. I've extended the awning about 6 inches to clear this sliding door. It also needs to be closed when you extend the awning or retract it. Once we've obtained those, we'll go to the settings, the little gear settings screen here, or gear screen, awning extend, push and hold extend. And just hold it till it's fully extended. This awning will disable if the ignition is on. It will not operate while you're driving. When the awning is fully extended, it will stop. And if I come back to the lighting page, right here, there is also an awning light, which is actually dimmable. Going back to the little gears page, we can retract the awning. Now that we've completed retracting the awning, we can move on. We're going to talk about this entrance door. It is motorized. If you look on the remote, there's a button on the bottom, push and hold, and the door will open. It'll also close it. Alternately, if you don't happen to have a key in your pocket, just pull on the handle. And it will go in the opposite direction. Behind this entrance door is the onboard freshwater tank. This is where you will fill it. Underneath this running board there is a drain. I don't know if you want to look at that, Jason. Located right there. Drain for winter use. We've provided you with a water hose for filling the tank or connecting at a campsite. The hose we've provided is designated for RV use. It's actually food grade, so there's no chemicals leaching into your water. Okay. This connection is for 120 volt power. It will operate if the inverter's turned on, the unit is plugged into shore power, or the generator is running. It doesn't operate off the batteries. Moving around to the back, these doors will swing fully open. We have provided some accessories to get you started, some chemical for your tank, the water hose, a pressure regulator for use in campgrounds. Just protects your plumbing system from over spikes. So anytime you're in a campground, please ensure this is threaded onto either end of the hose. We've also included a pack of toilet paper to get you started. When you're buying toilet tissue for your RV, please buy RV designated tissue. It dissolves in the tank. The other stuff sticks to it. Pleasure-Way includes lithium-ion batteries in their coaches. It's kind of the newest technology. They work really well. They give a good reserve capacity. They will go quite a while on a charge, and they charge very quickly. Those are some of the benefits. Some of the concerns and cautions you have to have, they don't give a warning when their voltage is starting to get low. They just shut off altogether. So if you're boondocking or camping without power, you want to ensure you're using the auto generator start feature, just so that you don't have a power failure and no ability to start anything. We will discuss that when we go back inside and are talking about the touchscreen. The other shortcoming with these batteries is they do not like to be charged if it's below 0 degrees Celsius. So being aware of that, Pleasure-Way has included a switch here that disables the charge line from the solar panel and from the engine charging. So anytime you've got it stored for the winter, please ensure that key is out just to protect your batteries. Come spring, that can stay connected all year. One concern I have with the Pleasure-Way is you do need to be very cautious about what you've put under the bed. You don't want to put fabrics or bedding or anything like that. The two drive gears for flattening the sofa into a bed are under here. If they get bedding or cloth fabric caught in them, it can damage the system. Down in the lower driver's side corner, we have our propane fill. Any certified station that sells propane will fill that for you. Also have a quick connect for a barbecue or any other propane accessory that you might want to bring along. Just draws from the tank. Saves having to bring a cylinder with you. This is the exhaust for the furnace. This is your Truma AquaGo on-demand hot water heater. Right here is where the plug will go when you dewinterize it. That will be inside the unit. Oh, it's right here. We leave it out so we know the tank's empty. It protects it from freezing. So when you dewinterize it, put that plug in, turn the switch on. That's your master switch. That switch can stay on for the season, and then we're going to talk about the water heater more once we're inside, because you're going to control it from inside for the summer. This is your utility center here. So we have our city water connection here. There's a valve here to turn your propane off and on. There is a cable TV inlet if you happen to have that at your site. It's also where you're going to connect your shore cord. So if you look at this cord, it has 3 little tabs, one with a little 90-degree jut. Just ensure it lines up with the appropriate connection. Turn it on and give it a twist. Now, this system is 30 amp, so the plug has 3 prongs in a unique position. That's for 120 volt, 30 amp. Anytime you're renting a campsite and you want to use your air conditioner, that's what you need to ask for, a 30 amp supply. We've also provided an adapter so that you can plug it in outside your garage at home. Outside shower to hose the dog, and below that is our sewer dump. Below this exterior shower, we do have our sewer dump connections. We have 2 handles, a black and a gray. Black is for the toilet, gray is for the showers and the sinks. Okay. To dump, we're going to pull the cap under this running board. There is a sewer hose that you can pull out and connect. It just twists on. Pull the hose right out. The other end will go in your sewer dump. When you're dumping, if you are dumping the black, you'll always want to dump the black first. Once the black is fully dumped, close the valve and then dump the gray. That just flushes out your sewer hose and gets the less desirables out. You might not dump the black every time. I do like it to be used until it's 90% full. It might sound crazy, but that actually keeps the tank cleaner. Once you're done, put your sewer hose back, your cap back on, and away you go. Moving forward, if we open the driver's door, that accesses our fuel door for refueling the chassis. The nice thing about this system is that your fuel door is locked when the door is locked. Always add diesel, never gasoline. Tire pressures are listed here. Just for the front and rear, they do have different pressures. Your front tires are 51 or 61 psi and your rear are 58. Mercedes-Benz does not install the battery under the hood. It's actually underneath the floor in front of the driver's seat. So if you ever need to provide a boost, your positive cable will connect there. Your negative connects on this terminal here. So that's your direct connection to the battery. You can use that for boosting, being boosted, or if you want to put a battery charger or maintainer on, that's where you're going to go. Washer fluid is here. No power steering fluid to check on this. There's no dipstick for the engine oil. It actually gives you a reading when you start it. Engine coolant and DEF. DEF is diesel exhaust fluid. It's a product that's injected into the exhaust system that burns off the nitrous and sulfur oxides. You're not going to use a lot of it. You might use one jug every 5,000 kilometers. It's about $20 a jug for a 9.47 liter jug. Mercedes-Benz does not recommend you top this every time you get fuel. They recommend you drive a 5,000 kilometer interval, buy a fresh jug and pour the whole jug in. There is a sensor in the system that if it's overfilled, will give a check engine light. The other thing you need to know about DEF is it does have a shelf life. It's good for 2 years. So don't store it. If you need to add it, buy it fresh when you install it. And that concludes the outside of the Pleasure-Way. So moving to the inside, we're going to start with the actual touch screen. There's two of these, one just inside the door, there's another at the back of the unit. Right now it's on the home screen. There are different screens. If you look on the right hand side, we have the home screen. Second down is your lighting screen, so you can control individual lights. They all have dimmers. One more, also have a master switch, which I really like. I can turn all the lights off or turn all the lights on. It'll actually remember which lights were on when you shut it off and turn those lights back on when you touch it the next time. The next screen is our power center. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then the gear screen with the fan, sofa and awning settings, and then this one is just for settings for the screen. You adjust your time, adjust your Celsius or Fahrenheit settings, and diagnostic for someone like myself. So let's go back to the home screen. In the top left-hand corner is our heating and air conditioning screen. So if I push the mode button, we go to AC first. So AC is blue. I can adjust my temperature. AC requires 30 amp power, so it's not going to operate when we're not plugged in. But if we were plugged in, the AC is set at 18 degrees Celsius. It's going to maintain that temperature cycle as required. If I push the mode button again, it's the Truma furnace. Basically, this one will operate off the batteries. You do not need power at all. Set your desired temperature and it'll maintain that. Hit that again, we get the fan. So the roof vent, you can actually thermostatically set that to open. So the thermostat's set at 20 degrees. It's telling me the inside temperature is 20.5. The fan is opening. Let's turn that up. The fan will increase or decrease depending on the difference from your set temperature. And if I turn that off, give it a second, that will close. There's also a fan auto, low, high, and auto. I always recommend that just stay on auto. That is actually the fan in the air conditioner. So if you have it on high or low, even if you turn the furnace on and you're connected to power, that fan will run consistently. If it's on auto, it only comes on when requested. Moving over to the right, we have our battery monitor. It's telling us the batteries are 79% charged with 13.3 volts in them. To the right of that, there's actually a little dial that's saying -5 amps. That's telling me I'm drawing 5 amps off the batteries currently. If I went over here to the lighting page, turned off the lights, and we'll go back, now the system's only drawing 2 amps. So the lights were drawing 3 amps off your batteries. If you're boondocking, pretty beneficial to help with your power management and reserving your capacity. You can start your generator here. So to start the generator, push and hold the start button. Of course, make sure that the propane is turned on. When you start this generator, you do not have power immediately. It can take up to 30 seconds. I'll know the system's energized when I hear the microwave beep and kick in. Then you can run whatever appliance you want. We'll wait for the beep. There you go. To stop the generator, we're going to push stop. Just like that. There are some common light buttons right here on the main screen, so you don't have to go to the lighting page every time. But on the bottom here, we have our water pump switch. Turns the water pump off and on. And there's an indicator here if there's an error with the water heater. And the last thing on this page is actually your monitor panel. So it'll give your levels in percentage. Fresh, gray, and black levels are all empty. Propane is 95% full. The propane level will fluctuate with ambient temperature as propane expands and contracts. So it might say 95% in the middle of the afternoon and 75% in the evening when it cools off. We've already talked about the lighting page. Going to the electrical page gives you averages of how much power you've used, and it will give you an estimated battery remaining time based on your usage. Up in the top, we have our energy saving system. It will disable if you're only connected to 15 amp power instead of 30 amp. It will disable certain appliances just so you don't overload and blow a breaker on your supply. It will also tell you what your power supply is, whether the power is coming from the generator, shore power, or the inverter. In the bottom corner, you have your solar panel charger regulator. This controls the charge in the battery. You can actually turn the solar panel off right there. That's a first for me. I've never seen that before. And there are some settings in here. Let's see what that says. So it'll give you some of the readings and how much charge you've gotten from that. The type of batteries, a lot of settings. This is getting into some technical stuff, right? Gives you historical charge rates. Go back home. And just trying to find the inverter button. We're gonna have to pause. I found the inverter switch. It's hidden in the first cabinet directly above the galley sink. So, to use this inverter, simply push in the orange or the round button at the bottom. Once again, wait for the switch to come on. You'll hear the microwave beep, then your system is energized. So the inverter, the purpose of the inverter is it takes the 12 volt batteries and it will invert it to 120 volts, the same as your household is. One of the problems with doing that is it will dramatically discharge your 12 volt batteries And particularly if you're running heavy loads like the microwave or a kettle or a Keurig or a coffee maker, if you're running a laptop or just watching TV, you probably can go for about 10 hours. But those other heavy loads can kill your batteries fairly quickly. Bigger loads, I prefer to use the generator. Try to avoid the inverter where you can. Now we're going to come back here, and we're going to talk about, I mentioned earlier, the auto generator start. Like I said earlier, these lithium-ion batteries will not give a visible warning when the batteries are getting low. It used to be when the batteries started to get low, you'd see the lights dim. Time to start the generator charge. These don't. It's just a switch goes off. When that happens, your batteries are dead, you lose your touchscreen, you lose everything. You cannot start the generator at that point. So you do want to always use, if you're boondocking without power, have your auto generator start ready and on. So I'm in the generator section here. I'm going to push AGS, not for use with shore power. Enabling auto generator start in an enclosed or unventilated space may cause injury or death. Do not enable AGS without ensuring it is safe to do so. To enable AGS, push and hold continue button for 5 seconds. So now, this AGS, if we go into settings, we can set it for 2 different parameters. We have an easy setup and a manual setup. We'll go easy setup. Starting the generator. When would you like the generator to start? When the house batteries are low and need to charge, check, that's on. When the climate control system needs power. So if you've parked your unit, you've gone golfing for 6 hours and you've left your dogs in here, you can actually set it on a hot day to come on and start the air conditioner to keep the vehicle cold for him. So go next, just different settings. Starting condition for low battery, it says it wants to start this at 40% of charge. And it will run till they're 80% charged. I recommend just leaving this at the factory settings. Stop the generator when the battery percentage is greater than 100%. And you can set your run times. There's also a quiet time setting, so if you're in a site where you're allowed to use the generator, but they have a quiet time after 10:30, you could set that parameter and set your time. So this one right now, it will not start after 9 p.m. or before 8 a.m. Just to respect your neighbors, I guess. There's also a quiet time pre-fill, which will come on maybe an hour or 2 beforehand and give the batteries a charge before the quiet time is engaged. And finish. The other side, manual setup, basically gives you all those parameters over again. It's just in a little quicker display. We could turn off the air conditioner loads there. Using the auto generator start just prevents you from being stuck in a situation where you've got to go find power to charge the batteries. Go back to the power page. We've discussed everything on there. One other thing about the auto generator start, one of the safety devices built into it is a cancellation if the ignition is started. If you start the van and drive it, you're going to have to even if you don't drive it, you're going to have to restart or re-enable AGS after the van is shut off. It's just a safety device they've put in, so if you move the van and put it inside a building, it doesn't accidentally turn the AGS on. Settings, we can put our sofa down here, awning control, and you can manually control this fan if you prefer. You don't have to use the thermostat. You can adjust your fan speed from 0 to 100%, 20 to 100%. We'll hit the close. And like I said earlier, this is just your different settings for the screen. Bottom left-hand corner of this main screen, there is a battery disable or a battery disconnect switch. It isolates the coach batteries from the van just so that you're not discharging them while it's stored. Anytime in the summertime it's not a big deal, but when you put it away for the winter, I do definitely recommend you shut that off. And we'll go back here. So I've moved into the galley here. I do want to talk about this true induction cooktop. Induction cookware is actually a really nice way to cook. You can run this off your batteries if you're using your inverter. It will be a heavy load on your batteries though. Might be further ahead to run the generator. To use your induction cooktop, you do have to have magnetic cookware. If you've got aluminum cookware, it's no good. Induction cookware produces heat through magnetic induction. So there's not actually a heating element in this stove, it's just a big magnet. Once it's on, I don't have anything in here, but I can't even show it, demo it with. There. Set your temperature once you have a cook pot on there, and away you go. Induction cookware will actually boil a pot of water faster than a microwave will. It's very efficient. Table, fully removable. You do need to disassemble it and remove it before you put the bed down. So loosen it off, up it comes. You can just set this underneath the bed when you're ready. Same with this one. If I run out of travel, push the button and move the handle back. That releases it so it doesn't tighten or loosen. Set this under here, and then you can set your bed down. Now that we have the table out of the way, if we sneak over underneath the bench on the passenger side of the van, we have our little boards here that will sit in here, 2 of them. Set these across here. You can now spread your cushions out for a larger bed. If you prefer 2 singles, you can actually leave the center cushions and that thing out. We'll just set this up here for now. Down here we have our distribution panel. So this is our 120 volt breakers. Anytime you're plugged in, if an appliance or device doesn't operate, a receptacle, this is where you're going to set same receptacles you have or circuit breakers you'd have in your house. Second touchscreen here, have a Bose sound bar just for streaming music or whatever off your phone. If we move underneath the bench on the driver's side, the master control for the furnace is here, as is the control for the water heater. So this control, if you want to come over here, Jason, the Truma control underneath here operates both. It's a master switch for the furnace. Once this is activated, which it is now, you can control the furnace from the touchscreen. If I push this again, it's off. We'll go back. Turn the knob. See the one with the thermostat in the water? That's for your water heater. So right now, it's off. Once again, we talked about this outside, the master switch. Once that's on, if I turn the knob, I have one setting, Eco, second setting, Comfort. You need to select your either mode. So Eco only makes hot water when there's a demand. So you open a hot water faucet, ask for hot water, it starts to heat the water then. If you're in Comfort, it maintains hot water right at the faucets. So in Comfort, you'll hear the water heater kick in every 20 minutes, half hour, and it circulates and it keeps the hot water right at the faucets. If you're boondocking, you're consuming battery power you don't necessarily need to. You're also using more propane than you need. What I recommend, leave it in Eco, you plan on having shower or washing dishes, all it takes is 90 seconds before. Put it in comfort, give it the 90 seconds, and then do whatever it was you wanted to do. One exception to that rule is if you're camping when the ambient temperature outside is below the freeze point. I do recommend that you keep it in comfort just to protect the water heater from freezing. That would be the same if it's parked in your driveway at home and you haven't winterized it yet. That little vessel freezes at about -3. Anytime you have questions on any of this stuff, don't be afraid to phone my cell number on the card that Jason sent with you. Microwave requires 120 volt power. It will run off the generator, your shore power, or the inverter. As I said earlier, the inverter is a fairly heavy load for the inverter. Probably take about 15 minutes to kill the batteries right dead. Your fridge. It's a compressor fridge now. Here's your power. So this runs off your batteries. I do recommend, if you can pre-chill it at home for 24 hours while you're plugged into shore power, that you do that, just so that you're not cooling it off the batteries. Another reason to run that auto generator start if you're boondocking, because this will be some load on your batteries. But simply turn it off or on. Night mode just sort of makes it a little quieter, and then the top button adjusts your temperature. We can turn that off. This panel here, if you remove that, you'll get to the back side of the water heater. It just sort of, there's valves back there to bypass for winterizing purposes. It is in the bypass mode now. If you're unclear on how to de-winterize it, pages 11 and 12 of the water heater, Truma water heater manual will tell you which position the valves need to be in. I always say flush it, put the plug in, and just turn them all, and you've got what you need. This device here is a propane or CO detector. It will give an alarm if there's a contaminant in the air. And if we can find some manuals, right there, the pouch, I'll go through the TV operation. There. Turn the TV on. Up here, Jason, is the there is a, must be an automatic antenna now. They've changed the antenna this year too. Let's see if we can find a channel. So it's on. We'll make sure the TV's on TV. I'm going to push the house button on the remote, and I'll click over to settings, go down to channels, enter, hit auto tuning, hit start, go to the fridge and grab a beer. It takes it about 5 minutes to scan the airwaves to program any channels that it's picking up off the antenna. There's no guarantee that I'm going to get channels today because I am inside a building. Apparently I'm wrong, it's found one. On a good day we get one. But that'll take a couple minutes before that's done. Anyway, to finalize, we'll spend a little time in the cab of the van. There's quite a bit of technology in this Mercedes-Benz. We'll start with the push button start. I don't know, you might already have a vehicle that has that. In order for that to work, we must have a key inside the van. In the cab, not in the back. Put your foot on the brake, push the start button, it'll cycle the glow plugs and start itself. To shut it off, just touch the button. I'm going to turn it on. We're going to start going through some of these accessories. So we'll start over here. You do have your power seats here. There's 3 memory options you can program into the seats. There's a seat warmer button there, power locks, power windows, and your power mirrors. The steering wheel, the fob on this side has a little touchpad on it. So if I push home again, I can toggle through the different settings. This side, the left-hand side of the steering wheel, controls the instrument cluster, what you see in the center. So this is something you're probably going to want to park it in your driveway and play with. There's so many things you can do. You can change settings. Your cruise control setting is on this side as well. It is adaptive, so you can set your distances. Your cruise control will follow the vehicle in front of you. One problem with that system is you do need to keep the front of the van clean. If there's any contaminants on any of the sensors or the cameras, it will disable it. The other side of this touch screen, the radio will come on every time you turn it on. This side controls the touch screen in the center. So I'm going to push the home button. Once again, this is something you're going to want to play with. So I'm using this little touchpad. It's just like the Blackberries from 20 years ago, 15 years ago. I can go through navigation, your radio control is there. Right? Go back if you want to connect your phone to listen to music from that. The info gives you engine statistics while you're driving. It'll give you your horsepower, your RPM, some of your coolant temperature, fluid temperatures, torque that it's producing. This is for apps you can add to your device to read on here. Settings gets into some of the different settings for lightings and acoustics, all kinds of things there you can play with. You can play with your stability control, some of the more intrusive driver aids like your sleeping warning and lane departure warning. You can either turn it off or have it slam the brakes on when you wander out of your lane. All kinds of stuff to play with there. You can control, if I go back to the home screen. Anytime, like in here, we'll push it, we'll go into it. There's where you're going to connect your devices. Phone 1, phone 2, go back. If I go down, we can get into some of the different sounds and settings for that. Same with navigation. Go back home, go down, whoop. So you can actually talk to it. You can tell it where you want to go. You can tell it different things. Just say, hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Turn on the driver's side seat heat.
Okay, I'm switching on the seat heating on the driver's seat.
I can shut it off as well. It doesn't understand English, it just understands certain commands. There are physical buttons if you prefer to use those to get to some of your, if you prefer a tactile button, you can adjust your volume there. The bottom is your heater control. It does have an auto mode. It'll keep your desired temperature. AC, this changes your from defrost, floor or ground, max defrost, recirculate, and rear defrost. Then this button here will actually physically open and close that door at the back. On the dash, we have storage compartments. There's 3, one in front of each seat and a center one. The center one actually has an inductive charger. You set your phone there and it will charge cordlessly. They've also provided a cable if you prefer to charge to the USB. Some of the older phones won't accept inductive charging. And the third storage there, can holders there and lots of cup holders there. Up here, sunglasses, and then you can control your lights here. That one's your reading light. Center one is kind of a dome light. It's for light at the back, and then the passenger side reading light. And that sort of concludes everything except the questions you might have. Anytime you have questions, don't be afraid to call. I'll take calls till 10:30 at night. Thank you.